Well, hello, and thank you very much for clicking play. My name is John Williams. I own and operate the whatwasthatradio.com new music exposure situation. It is more than just a collection of incredible new artists I'm trying to elevate from around the world. It is a community of musicologists, and that means whether you like music just to sit back, listen and let it wash over you, whether you wish to dive into the detail and the context of its creation, you're a musicologist. It's a community of like-minded people that wish to elevate themselves and the artists they're gathered round to appreciate and listen to in the first place. And everything What Was That earns is split 50-50 between myself and running costs, and then the What Was That Foundation, that to date, in the 6 months of it running so far, has put over $3,000 in the pockets of our own community. Whether that's to fund counselling sessions for our community's mental health and well-being during the past year and a half. I'm dodging saying this, right? The word? Yeah. We're also close to setting up the What Was That Music School, where no matter your age or where you are on this planet we call Earth, what do you want to learn? Guitar? Piano? The What Was That Music School is connecting incredible musicians with massive hearts with new students to help them dive into the world of creativity. Because I won't speak for you ever. I'll speak for me. In that music brings me so much emotion, through sadness to happiness and all in between. And music brings me joy. And it's also led me to this conversation today with three fellas, Jason, Keil and Gabe. What on earth is an NFT? What is a non-fungible token? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm clinging on to being hip. Is it a mushroom? That's not a joke. So let's dive in and learn about Bitlectro Labs and STRFKR and the NFT with physical component campaign that after a quick chat with Jason last week intrigued me tenfold. And again, thank you for being here. Okay, well, let's get on with it then. Let's paint the picture of what on earth is an NFT. How do you three, in Gabe, Jason, and Keil, know each other? And what are we going to dive into that is tremendously exciting to me? But to be frank, I've got no idea what most of this realm and world is, gentlemen.
So should we start with what an NFT is? Gabe probably would be best at describing it.
Yeah, so NFT stands for non-fungible token, which is really a bunch of nonsense words until we define what they are. So to define what an NFT is, you have to define what a fungible token is first. So fungible things are those items that can be replaced by a like item. So dollars in your wallet, digital dollars in your bank account, online travel credits, skins in an online video game. These things are fungible. However, most things in the real world are not fungible, okay? Meaning they can't be replaced by a like item easily. So you know your couch is yours, you know that your car is yours, the computer you're working on, talking to me on right now. These are all non-fungible things. We can't just swap them out easily, right? They're not an immediate one-for-one correspondence. So the fungible things like dollars, online credits, these are the actually the odd ones out. So most digital items are fungible like this. One can be swapped for a like one, and nobody knows any different. Whether it's digital art, game collectibles like skins in an online game, etc. However, NFTs, which are also a digital item, the non-fungibility is provided by the provenance of a blockchain, which we know from things like Bitcoin. So it's this ledger that proves the provenance of ownership for a digital good. So whether it's a collectible like a crypto kitty, a game skin, a piece of digital art, a music video, a song, etc. Even though someone can look at or save that image or video associated with that digital good, my ownership is established by the ledger via the blockchain. So this brings into discussion, particularly with certain types of NFTs, things like digital rights, what I can do with an NFT, like use the art or music in a broadcast or my Twitch stream, or remix it or use it in a commercial. So NFTs are really more about the provenance of ownership or the provability of one's ownership. And as a bonus, they're becoming a really unique way for creators to monetize their work, and in some instances provide a more direct pipeline for audiences or new groups of consumers to jump on board.
So how on earth do the three of you know each other now that we've got the NFT context in, which I think we'll come back to, because from my perspective, I've seen stories on Kings of Leon to 50 Cent to all these different things over the last 3, 4, 5 years. The Kings of Leon Rolling Stone article accelerated that into my thought the last few weeks, and then Jason phones me up about this. So let's step aside a second and just formulate how you three know each other through your very different yet overlapping entertainment arts and creations over the years.
Yeah.
Well, we can start. Me and Gabe, actually, we know each other from high school. We were friends kind of through computer club, which is like the nerdiest thing you could possibly do in high school. And we've just kept in touch ever since. We've been friends for, how long is that? 20,
Oh man, I was gonna say 30 years, not 30 years, 20 something years at least.
probably like 25, 26 years. Um, and Gabe's been a DJ for a long time. I've played in bands for a long time, so we had some overlap there, like growing up in Las Vegas, play shows, Gabe a DJ. Yeah, and I guess you can get into how you and Jason met. Jason and I just met recently, and I met him through Gabe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way we met was we played Rocket League together. That was our initial.
That was our introduction.
Basically,
yeah.
Through quarantine video games.
Quarantine activities.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I met Jason through my wife, who is she has a small apparel business in Las Vegas that's very Vegas centric. Like she makes pins and pieces of apparel out of old Vegas art, Vegas signs, buildings, etc., the old casinos. Anyway, so Jason is a magician, whether or not you knew that. I think you did know that, but
I did, yeah.
Listeners don't. Jason is a very talented magician. I almost said musician. And as such, he comes in and out of Vegas quite frequently. And I think he himself is a bit of a Vegas file, given the long tradition we have here with both the entertainment arts and magic arts, if you will. So he came to town and wanted to get some apparel from my wife, who said, I will give you some free stuff if you show my husband a magic show or do some close-up magic for my husband. I'm a consumer of magic, not a magician myself, but I have a deep appreciation for magicians. So Jason obliged, and we sort of hit it off after he did some very wonderful close-up cardistry for me and close-up card magic. Anything you want to add to that, Jason?
It was just fantastic. It's just like how they say everything's connected, and it totally is, because it started from us chatting about pins and like Vegas history and then we all hit it off and then went out for food, and we had to leave to go to a show for a little bit, and then we came back to Gabe and them, and we kind of just hit it off even more and had food together and all this. And then they took us on this little tour through old Vegas, and it was like the highlight of our trip. And it all came from just like one Instagram message, which then stemmed into, I think at the Thai restaurant, I threw an idea out how it came up, how you worked in blockchain before, Gabe, or something like that. And I was like, I had this idea, like half-baked idea, which planted the seed that a year later can kind of like build on just from like one little core of a nugget of nothing to turn into like mold and twist and turn.
Yeah,
and then the conversations came back.
Yeah, I was working for a blockchain startup. Well, I helped co-found the startup as well. I've been in that space for many years now, at least dating back to 2014. And Jason already had an interest in NFTs and cryptocurrency. So that was another way that we bonded past magic. Fast forward a couple of years, and now we're working on a project together.
So when you say blockchain, Gabe, for those old men like me, what does that mean?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind when people think of blockchain is Bitcoin, but
yeah,
really blockchains are just a data structure more than anything. So in the case of Bitcoin, it's a data structure that's used for storing financial transactions, that is money. In the case of NFTs, it's for storing ownership of these digital objects, just a way for people to reference who owns what, a way for people to exchange value. There are more modern blockchains like Ethereum that allow for more than just basic histories of transactions, but rather they allow for things like smart contracts, which are programmatic ways of exchanging value. Like imagine you want to send a rare piece of digital art to someone, but you don't know if you trust them. So maybe you use a third-party escrow agent who holds both the funds and the piece of digital art. Well, the wonderful thing about blockchains is that they can do all of that programmatically. So you don't need that third party. They're really just these wonderful ways to exchange value and store value, at least in most blockchain implementations, without having to have an abundance of overhead in terms of personnel. And it takes a lot of the trust out of it. We call these systems trustless because they do everything programmatically, so you don't have to worry about the trust component, if you will.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've got friends that years ago said to me at the bar, "Oh, have you heard of this thing called Bitcoin?"
Right.
And then one of my best friends actually lives off of his Bitcoin. The last 10 years that he's been hustling and learning about that, and the whole way through I've gone, I don't know, man, I don't know what this is. I'm just a guy that just has the songs on wax, and I have the tangible items I can touch and correspond with in and around me, and so my mind shuts down to an extent when it needs to start thinking about all these other algorithms or AI or what all these chains and how they work. So I appreciate the breaking it down, because I'm jumping into a world. That's why I'm so intrigued by this conversation, that I've sort of kept at arm's length and been maybe petrified, maybe that's the wrong word, but unsure of and anxious about. And so when Jason called me the other night and said that, oh, years ago you had Jason, what NFTs, what had you got into years ago? How did you learn about this when you were a young man?
So when I was in university, I just really didn't enjoy the process of it all. So I was the kind of guy who would sit on like my computer through lectures and all that and just do other things. Like I'd kind of plug out, rather plug in to plug out of the lecture. And it was during the kind of bull run of 2017 with Bitcoin. It was crazy high. Like at the time it was like Canadian, like $17,000 a Bitcoin or something like that. I didn't really have any, but I was really interested in Ethereum because the price of it was lower. It was $500 or something like that for one Ethereum in Canadian. So I was like, this is interesting. And I just stumbled upon this game called CryptoKitties, which was you get to basically breed and adopt these digital cats that they're cute and they had different names. Mine had like rap lyrics in its bio. I thought it was awesome. They were like $6 and I was like, this is great. So I bought a couple and then I like made my mom buy one. And then that made me find a project called, is it Data, Gabe, or Data?
It's technically Dada.
Dada NYC. Yeah, Dadaism, right. And it's this like anti-art movement called Creeps and Weirdos was the collection. It was this like virtual art gallery basically. And I bought a couple pieces of that. And then I bought a CryptoPunk, which is one of the ones that kind of blew up. And it all just was, it was, for me, when I was buying it, was just like a proof. It was to prove that this thing could work. Like I never understood. I bought it, all of them, for so little that they were never meant to be like an investment piece for me, rather just as like this technology works, like a proof of concept, because I have had ideas of doing things within music or whatever with NFTs just in my own dreams and all that kind of stuff. So it all kind of just, and then once Bitcoin kind of sizzled out and all that, you know, now it's so hot, but over, you know, the past couple of years, I just kind of didn't really pay that close attention to it. And then when it started kind of gearing back up again, I opened up some accounts and was like, oh, this kind of worked out. And then that kind of sparked the conversations with everyone else. So I was never like super deep into it. It was just kind of like a weird way of me flunking out of university. That's what I'll put it at.
Right. So when you first bought these CryptoKitties, what and going back to Gabe describing at the start here how this system works, where do those CryptoKitties then live when you buy them?
Yeah.
How can you access them? Did you leave is in an account? You left it dormant. You log in and go, oh my goodness, this might take me some. I might. How do you track that?
So they live in a thing called a wallet, right? Which is like
a virtual wallet or crypto wallet.
Which is like a line, which is basically a bunch of random letters and numbers that mean that this is your account. And there's like a password to get into that wallet. And then if you forget that password, you can like write down a phrase that of like 10 to 12 words that you're given when you make the wallet. That's like your recovery kind of phrase.
So I'm a magician. No one's going to guess this, right?
I had to use my recovery phrase to get back into my account this year. You know what I mean? So it's dicey, but they live in a virtual wallet and you can just view it. You know, you can right click save as a lot of these icons the same way. You know, like I did that. I just held on my phone and hit save to gallery the same way I would, but my ownership is within my wallet.
So if someone's perusing the CryptoKitties and they go, I really would like this, how do they get in touch with you? Because you said to me, I don't know if you want to share this or not, but you'd said on the phone to set this interview up that you had sold some.
Yeah. So there's like marketplaces. This would be a better question for Gabe and Keil. Do you guys know if there's I guess you on like OpenSea or something, someone could reach out and be like, hey, I want to buy, like put an offer forward, right?
Yeah. That's kind of an interesting thing about NFTs is that once they're out there on the blockchain, anyone can query and go and look at all of the existing digital NFTs, whether they're art, music, etc., and basically make an offer. So if Jason has an account on a marketplace, like say OpenSea, someone can go in and say, oh, I want Jason's CryptoKitty. I like its blue eyes. So they can make an offer. Now, assuming that Jason has made his account on OpenSea, he can then log in and see that, Keil's made an offer for my CryptoKitty for $250. I can approve that offer, and then it automatically triggers the transaction, basically, or he can click deny, or he can just ignore it outright and wait for better bids. But so there's a lot of these third-party marketplaces that interface with blockchains like Ethereum, and they go in and they query the entire indexes of these digital collectibles and pieces of digital art. And they create these really nice browsable interfaces where people can go through and look at what other people are making and they're trading or just storing and sharing with the world.
It sort of reminds me of eBay in a weird way.
Yeah, I mean, it has a lot of the functionality, right? Except for just NFTs.
Exactly.
You can do auctions, you can do buy it now. You can just tease people with listings of cool art that you don't sell. I see a lot of. You can also browse what other people are collecting too. There's like notable collectors like even Mark Cuban, who's come to some notoriety for his NFT collection. People figured out his wallet address and saw what he was buying, which is
right.
Yeah. And you can see how much is in there too, and you're like, "Wow, this man really is that rich,"
like
So
like he in a throwaway wallet. I assume it's a throwaway wallet, but he's got like $1 million in various pieces of Ethereum cryptocurrencies, like or ERC20 tokens that ride on Ethereum's blockchain. Not to mention just a whole bunch of weird NFTs, like from little digital trading cards.
So weird.
Memes. Like he buys random stuff on these marketplaces just for fun. So. And I'm sure there's quite a few collectors like that, myself included. I bought some weird stuff just because I wanted to support the project. I bought some AI generated Simpsons characters the other day that were pretty cool. Jason's shaking his head no. I thought it was one of the most brilliant things I'd seen.
but that's what's the coolest thing about all this NFT stuff is since it's all digital and it's all these kind of different digital art basically. We can have different opinions. Like I like this project called, or I won't even name it, but I like a certain project that I bought a couple of.
Go ahead. Why not?
And name it. All right. They're called Avastars. I really like them. I think they're great. I think they're calling it like the middle class CryptoPunk. I think it's great. And Gabe doesn't really like the art style of it, so he wouldn't buy one because of the art style. But I don't really love the art style of the Simpsons one, so I wouldn't buy that.
Yeah.
Right. So it has that like that each person can have their own taste, which is really cool.
Yeah, well, we're all unique individuals, and I mean, as Gabe was saying, rather, that I'm referencing a few minutes ago, you need to put money in to build infrastructure of the whole journey. Without any investment, it's just going to stand still, go stale, disappear. So the fact that you're supporting each other within this realm of creation that boggles my mind and intrigues me massively is only going to help to push it forward. That's what you hope, is that those minds come together, that collective forms, and you build and elevate each other. So much like What Was That radio-wise is about elevating a community and putting more money in the artist's pockets, you're trying to get this world going, which Keil then, when did you decide to sit down with the latest next steps of the band and say, right, I want to get in the NFT situation with this?
Well, I've been into blockchain tech for quite a while. And I started hearing about NFTs a few months ago, and I do a lot of like motion graphics, animation stuff for my band. And it just kind of made sense. We had some people reach out to us about doing NFTs for my band, STRFKR. And Gabe actually was the one that posed the question to me, like, oh, if you were to make an NFT, what would you want to do? So we just started talking about it, and it's been a really fun process, and it's kind of cool. I feel like it's empowering for a lot of artists just to be able to sell your art and music directly to people without having to go through record labels. And, I don't know, it's a very like painless process, and it's cool how direct it is.
So what can and can't you share about this project? Because I know it's not in its infancy in terms of what you three know, but what do you want to share about it? Because I've previewed the website that's out there, and how is it going so far? And yeah, what can and can't you say about your diving into this adventure?
There's quite a few previews on our Discord channel. That's kind of the place to, where we put most of the information about the project and previews. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty, what I like about it is there's so many components to it. A lot of work's gone into making lots of little individual elements for each NFT. So, the image aspect of it could be composed of 3 or 4 different elements, some animated, and the music aspect will be comprised of several like separate layers of audio. So it creates a lot of variety, and they're pretty like unique as far as the way each one looks and sounds. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
So do you packet them in the sense that you can choose to just buy some artwork, or you choose an NFT that's filled with art and maybe a layer of one of the parts of the songs, or
each NFT is a combination of like the animated visuals and a piece of music, and it's all kind of programmatically randomized with the visual elements and the music. So each one is unique. I think we're going to end up doing 10,000 of them.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but it's cool. Like I've been going through all of the stuff that's been programmatically generated, and kind of manually selecting like what are the most pleasing, aesthetically as far as the visuals. And yeah, it's a lot of stuff, which I'm really excited to get out there.
So do you look at it then, Keil, as 10,000 mini projects?
Pretty much. I mean, each one is kind of like its own little mini like record, or like a micro record to me. It's it's got its like album cover, and then it's got its like track, and it just kind of loops infinitely. So I feel like each one's its own weird little micro record.
This is really fascinating. So if I was to just jump in and buy 10, will they correspond with each other at all, other than the fact that you created it?
Well, when you purchase one, it's all random. So there's different like levels of rarity as far as the NFTs go. There's we're packaging it with physical elements. So they're like the most rare. I think there's only 100 of those, and that comes with a vinyl record. And then we're doing 1,900 that come bundled with tapes, and like all of the elements within the artwork are like more rare for those. And then there's just the common ones that don't come bundled with anything physical, but those also have elements that vary in rarity. So there's like value to really all of them in a way, because some are more rare than others, some come with physical stuff. But yeah, if you were to purchase 10, it's all completely randomized. So you could get 2 records, you could get 3 tapes, or you could just get the physical or just the NFTs themselves.
I love that, because that right there puts so much power in the creator's hands, because there is no jockeying or one-upping, or you don't know what you get until you get it. I don't know if what I'm saying is hitting, because just there's so many steps. I mean, you've been in a band for years. I think 3 out of the 4 of us are in and around the same realm of age, maybe give or take 5-6 years. There are so many hoops you jump through as an artist. There's so many next steps, a percentage going that way, this way, left, right, and center. What excites me about this conversation, and the more that we go into it, and thank you for walking me down the path of simpleton, because I am not on the same page. I'm trying to read up and educate and catch up, and that's what the 3 of you are doing and conversing with me. The pin just dropped from me, where I'm like, oh, I get it now. 10,000 mini projects, 10,000 extensions of the soul of the creator. No one knows what on earth they're getting to an extent. And then you have that pride of community that go, well, which one did you get? and it's just bringing everyone closer together, or they choose not to share what they got and they keep CryptoKitty quiet for themselves for 10 years. It could be any which way you go. So, okay, well, I'm definitely going to get involved in this, because just by proxy of you trusting me to hold this conversation with you all, I'm going to jump into the Discord later. And what is the Discord then? Is it discoverable through the Dreamloops website, or?
Yeah, if you go to bitlectro.com or Bitlectro Labs, BITLECTRO labs.com, that's got a link to our Discord and all of our other social media. And it's got a bunch of examples of the NFTs, just the visual. We don't have any audio examples up, but if you sign up, if you sign up for the mailing list, I think, you'll get a link to the audio examples. And I think all those links are also in the Discord.
And if you sign up for the mailing list, don't you also get the first crack at purchasing these as well before launch? Is that right, Gabe?
Yeah, that's the way we're doing it. So some of these NFTs have, because it's such a craze right now, they've just been selling out immediately. So we're trying to give first priority to those that have had their eyes on us since the beginning. And our price point's reasonable. The goal is to make a sustainable, tradable project that benefits not only the musicians, but allows for the community members to have some fun with it as well, as collectors. Like I myself am a collector of many things, from vinyl records to enamel pins to T-shirts to NFTs. So it's nice to have something that's not inaccessible in a world that's just filled with crazy NFT valuations right now. So,
and that's the thing is, Keil, then how have your audience, in terms of your band community and followers, taken to this? And is there also, as a second point to that, with what Gabe just said, how do you know then who's jumping in and getting involved in the ones that are out there so far? Because they could just be NFT collectors just trying to help the community grow. So how do you know the difference between whether it's your audience? So the first bit is, how are they reacting to it? How have they responded? And then secondly, do you feel it's them that have got involved so far, or is it those trying to invest in NFT and get it moving in the right direction?
It seems like genuinely like there's some overlap between our fans and like NFT enthusiasts for sure. Some bands that we're friends with have already done NFT launches, and they've gone really well. And STRFKR, my band, is planning on doing a release in May on Nifty Gateway. I didn't mean to spell out the name. I just thought I'm like used to doing like radio where you can't cuss.
You can say Starfucker. It's your band. It's your name, and no need to edit here.
Yeah, but I think our fans are like interested in NFTs for sure, or at least the ones that are aware of them. We'll see how that sale goes, and I haven't really like this project is such early stages that I don't know if a lot of people are aware of it yet, but I'll definitely be doing some more promo for it once we get a little closer to launch. And it'll be interesting to see, how much of our fans are interested and how much of them are into NFTs. I just like the fact that NFTs, you kind of bypass a lot of like the industry machinery, and that's one of like the worst parts about being in the music industry, is just having to deal with how unwieldy all of the industry machinery is, and how much money you give to these organizations that don't really even do that much for you in the end. This is a really direct way, and that's what I like about it, I think.
And then, sorry, who did I interrupt there, Gabe or Jason?
Oh, that was me. I was going to piggyback on that.
Yeah.
And that's part of our model too. Like Keil's obviously a founder of the project. He's had an interest in blockchain and crypto for many years, but we hope to branch this out to more musicians and more artists, right? So people within Keil's sphere, people that solicit us privately that want to do a release, through our company, through our group. But the goal is to return as much of the net sale value to the artist as possible. So we're trying to target like 70 to 80% of all sales after covering our costs go to the artist, go to the musician. And the nice thing about the blockchain is that they can actually collect residuals off of peer-to-peer sales that can be built into the smart contract. So let's say an artist sells 100 rare exclusive NFTs, they go gangbusters. they can collect 5% off of that perpetually going into the future, which is a nice way to fund the musician or the artist directly. Compare that to the existing like Spotify model that doesn't pay crap for people that are getting hundreds of thousands or millions of listens per month through their bands or solo artist accounts. So I've totally drank the Kool-Aid of seeing how empowering this can potentially be to creators like Keil or like other artists or whomever.
It seems really revolutionary to me for someone, someone goes and they buy the NFT, and then the artist immediately receives the money for that through the blockchain. It doesn't have to go to your publishing company, and then the publishing company takes their cut, and then they send it to it's just, it goes through so many hands before it reaches an artist. So sometimes you put a song in a commercial, or you put a song in a movie, you don't see that money for 6 months to a year. Whereas, an NFT, somebody could purchase it and immediately that money goes to your Ethereum wallet with no middleman. It's just kind of insane how that works. I mean, imagine a Spotify like that, where someone listens to your song, and as they're listening to the song, a fraction of an Ethereum goes straight to your wallet. No middle people at all. It's kind of amazing.
This is what I feel like I've said fascinating so many times in this conversation. So I had another noun or adjective lined up, but I've forgotten it. But that's what fascinates me so much about this, is that this is a dawn. It's a revolution. It's the start of a new system, and with that, like for me, brings anxiety of the unknown. And I don't know, and I'm learning through discussion with you three that are very kindly holding that space to do so. But why wouldn't you want to? When you look at the evolution of the humankind, before there were skyscrapers, we didn't trade like we trade now. This is not the way we have to trade continuously. We don't have to be subjected, while we are akin to the fact there are corporations and that there will always be corp to a certain extent. It's not how we have to necessarily jump on the back of the horse and ride into the sunset with. We can enable ourselves to break away and formulate a community, and there should be no guilt in doing so, to protect yourself, whether that's your art, your income, whatever it might be. With What Was That Radio, everything is split 50-50. I aim within 5 to 7 years to turn around to the Canadian government and say, my music license is too little. It's too little to pay $150 a year just to have a license, because online radio isn't really radio. When there's a certain amount of people coming through and then it leads to money being made, they'll take a 6% cut when I make $3,000 a month. And then that goes into the big pot from all the online radio or AM, FM in the country to then pay out what in Canada is 89 cents radio royalty per play. That is a lot more than your 0.000007 recurring of a cent from Spotify, just to use the average number across the world, despite the fact they're taking taxes from provinces and different countries at different rates, blah, 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 blah. It's a constant palpable, perpetual state of change and energy, that they're just doing what they need to do to keep certain systems at play. There is nothing wrong with building your own community, is my point here, to do what's best for you. And what Gabe was saying 7 or so minutes ago leads me to my next question, which is, okay, so this is not just a one-time project. This is your project, and in terms of Keil and your band is going to release this set through there, but then Gabe is saying, but this is a company that will stay the three of you, or what? This is what will move forward into the future to help put more. I'm trying to do 50-50. Gabe said 70 or 80%. Let's expand on that. What does the future look like beyond this project?
Yeah, that's the goal. So right now, there's a little bit of a development lift in launching 10,000 of these. It's one thing to launch.
A little bit. Adorable. Right. A lot. Yeah.
Exactly.
Some might say a shit ton, but sure, yeah.
Especially in Keil's lap. I mean, he's the one producing both the music and the artwork for all of this. But then there are programmatic pieces that you need on Ethereum to launch these as well. Now, some of these marketplaces allow people to really easily launch 1 or 2 pieces of art, or launch 1 or 2 pieces of music, or 10. But anytime you get into those larger numbers, it becomes increasingly consumptive of your time, right? So we're not manually loading 10,000 of these into a website. I mean, that would literally take us weeks. So we have developers involved to do this. So we're building little pieces of infrastructure that'll allow us to release more artists subsequently. So assuming we can get this first launch off the ground, which so far the the response from the community, at least the NFT community, has been overwhelmingly positive. Our social media has been moving like gangbusters. So we think we can have a successful launch for this first one. And if that's the case, the goal is to hopefully, at least for the next 6 months to a year, do a new release every month, with additional artists, with additional musicians. We can maybe pair them up. Like maybe Keil wants to do another release with different music, but he has an artist, a visual artist that he wants to do the album art. Or maybe Keil has a different style of album art he wants to produce. So he pairs himself with a new musician. Or maybe we have a musician we approach who has an artist that they've always wanted to work with. So we're trying to make those relationships happen, and then let the artist musician sort of tailor the release to their needs. Like I don't expect everyone's going to want to do 10,000 pieces of digital art or 10,000 musical loops. What's more likely is maybe they have a little album they want to release, or a couple of singles, and we could do that. We could do multiples of, say, 5 singles from an EP and pair those with different pieces of artwork. So that really the sky's the limit. We can do any type of combination there. But the goal is to sort of serve as I don't want to call us a label. We're not a record label per se, but we're sort of a music / visual art adjacent NFT company that's helping to empower artists to get a little more direct traction for their wares, outside of the record labels and the conventional storefronts, into a community that's chomping at the bit for these. I mean, right now the NFT mania is absolutely crazy, and some people say it's in a bubble. I think, yeah, sure, it might be in a bubble, but these aren't Beanie Babies. This isn't a fad. The technology is here to stay, and the price points are going to come to reasonable valuations that allow creators to empower themselves financially. So it's kind of like almost like a direct Patreon model in some instances. Like you, John, as a creator, you could take these videos and have exclusives that you sell as NFTs, for example. The syndication model isn't just for visual artists or musicians. It could translate to radio. It could translate to YouTube type video bloggers, for example. So I'm off on a little bit of a tangent here, but
not at all. I like it.
Yeah. Ultimately, the goal is to have a sustainable business practice that engages with as many musicians and artists as we can to do fun releases at a reasonable price point for a community of avid collectors that want to trade them, want to sell them, want to share them, etc. We think the project's fun, and at this point in my career as someone that's been working in tech, if the project's not fun, I don't want to do it anymore. And I think this is a really fun sort of avenue to get to work with musicians and artists. And as a DJ myself, I make no claims that I'm a musician, but I'm a connoisseur of music and a consumer of music, and to be able to work with artists like Keil, who's my long-term friend, but also an exceptionally talented musician / visual artist. The idea that we can potentially do this with dozens or hundreds of more artists is really exciting to me.
Yeah, and there's no waffling or going off on a tangent. You can do that 1,000 times over, because what that leads me to say is, from my point of view of the 15 years in radio and 10 here in Canada, is that there was perception is such a fascinating word. Perception is it's just fascinating. What one might think of the other without the conversation in the middle, that can lead to a lot of narrative being built, whether positive or negative. And what I had seen in 10 years and 15 years of radio, where are we going in the future? How is radio going to be sustainable? Where is this going to lead to? And having a yearly meeting a few years ago where a gentleman came in and said, well, radio won't suffer with all these streaming platforms, or it won't suffer from the rise of podcasting on these streaming platforms, because people will always just want to get in their car and put the radio on. But that is being negligent of the rise of the in-car audio system that doesn't need the FM. And where I left in England, there is no more FM AM as of 2028. It's completely digital audio broadcast. In some countries in Europe, there is no FM AM. The phase has already begun. It's going to continue to go that way. The trend is technology is king, because technology is evolving at a rate that many people don't understand, and like me, they're anxious about. But the reason why I sidestep radio is because how many times am I going to go into a meeting and someone says, we've reached the pinnacle? How much farther can it be pushed? And that's why in me stepping back and, okay, I'll learn how to do websites, and I've just always just been preparing my 20 breaks a show and selecting the music. Now I'm trying to fathom all of it because I wanted that adventure and that adrenaline of discovery and self discovery. And this is exactly what I feel my last 6 months of what was leading up to, was talking with people that are pushing the boundaries of where technology can take us, and critically how it can come about elevating communities around artists, magicians, writers, spokespersons, whatever it might be. And it's that fear that holds so many back. And it's a dangerous energy to have on yourself, to be surrounded by that fear. So this is just an exhilarating conversation because I feel like I'm back in high school again, but I'm at the back of the classroom actually trying to hurriedly write down notes rather than scribble a note to a pen pal. Or you're happy that Keil has changed his... We've got to go back to Keil so we can see this background here. Is this some of the art or what?
Yeah, that's for the tape. If you end up with a tape NFT, you get a little animated tape on there.
That's noteworthy, John. That's the back of the class noteworthy right there.
There you go.
That looks awesome.
I think your point is great, though. There is a lot of fear that stops creators from jumping and taking a leap into some of these spaces. And right now, a lot of the tools are a bit daunting, and it's a diversion. Maybe you're working a day job but trying to break out on your own thing, for example, or maybe you're tied to conventional distribution channels for whether it's radio or art or music. It can be a time sink initially to get into something like NFTs. The nice thing about it is that tools are being developed as we speak to make this transition easier. It's going to be far easier 6 months from now, a year from now, to launch your own set of digital goods on an NFT marketplace and potentially monetize that personally. And it's already fairly easy, but you have to have a little bit of knowledge with cryptocurrency or a little bit of knowledge with Ethereum to get there. And there's lots of good guides and things to learn that. But I think we're getting to a point where that fear as a deterrent is going to decrease incrementally as we normalize these pieces of technology. And really,
it's getting more and more user friendly. All of the decentralized software that I've used.
Yeah, and it's democratizing the process. We've already democratized media, through podcasts, through YouTube, through types of internet radio that you've been a purveyor of, for example. Getting away from these centralized channels like FM, AM, and what's the one here in the United States that controls most of the airwaves?
Sirius and iHeartRadio.
Clear Channel?
Pretty much.
Oh, Clear Channel.
Clear Channel, yeah.
And they drive these bizarre formats that we've just become accustomed to. And instead now we get to sit here with you, John, and speak in a long format without worries about sponsorships and intermittent commercial breaks and the like.
Or saying starfucker.
Yeah. Starfucker. It's all good.
Exactly. And I think NFTs are just another tool in this space and the democratization of media and these platforms that are going to make it far easier for creators across mediums to make a sustainable living for themselves, doing what they're good at and what they love. And it's easier to find an audience now more than ever too, which is great. There is a lot of noise, but we're finding with our project, for example, like, oh yeah, people are really into retro pixel art and vaporwave chiptunes, for example. Things near and dear to Keil and I's youth. I would include Jason here, but he came a decade late. Not too late, Jason, but just.
I'll go to an arcade. They still have one of those here.
I was at an arcade yesterday. Yeah, last day of spring break. Harley, Jordan, and I went down to Mr. Tubbs in Victoria and played some arcade games. It's one of his favorite places in the world. So
exactly.
Yeah,
I guess it's not nostalgic for. Well, maybe it is nostalgic. My parents tell me stories about chiptunes and that kind of thing, I guess. So. Not to date myself, but
I think, and just to tack on to what Gabe said brilliantly there. Look, I'm not. There's still power in all these outlets. There's still power to be on the FM, the AM, anywhere in between. Every community is allowed. Every individual is allowed where they seek solace and where they find comfort, and in turn where they might find out and discover things. That's fine. But what I've really learned the last 6 months is that because there's space for all. I've had some battles that we won't go into in this, where maybe people that I had worked with didn't want someone to succeed, and that's because they're caught in a bubble of their own narrative, that there is space that can be created. And as I said to you before we even started recording this, when we were just getting all our flipping microphones on and everything, in that there are other bands out there that I've seen through major publications that are doing NFTs, but I see that you buy an NFT and you get a unique NFT, but they all come with a packet of a ticket coupon for the next tour. So I'm presuming these are just very simple things then, Keil, that you can add on to individual, or as you were saying earlier in the conversation, you've got 1900 of that, or you've got 300 vinyl, or etc. So that's the easy step, I suppose, once you've created everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and with blockchain stuff, it's really nice because it kind of keeps track of users, by their wallet address. So, keeping track of those users that did get the rare NFT will be pretty easy to get their shipping information and send the stuff out to them. All that information can be stored on the blockchain, which is pretty cool.
Because what intrigues me about that, and then I'm close to running out of questions. Not that I had any plan before we started, because I just like just diving in and just figuring out conversations as we go. But let's say that when we can start gigging again, well, I mean, my band's done, but when your band can start gigging again, Keil, and you say, right, well, these 1,000 have got absolutely guaranteed, you've got a coupon to come to our show. Now, this might then, if I'm correct in thinking, enable you to become your own promoter or work with certain venues to an extent to cut out the middleman of the master or the Live Nation, etc. And it further will protect the potential ticket buyer because they're not worrying about that middleman scalper in the situation as well. Is that what I'm thinking here? This could move into?
I definitely see some avenues, where artists can take a little bit of power back from, some of those larger corporations that have infiltrated every aspect of the music industry and kind of carved off their piece. I don't know if we're there yet, but I feel like, these solutions are going to start manifesting just organically, I think, to help artists, and artists will be all for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to know what Eddie Vedder thinks, because way back when, I remember watching that press conference. He called a press conference to shit on the major companies. So I wonder what he's thinking.
Yeah, I'm sure he's on board. I mean, I think most artists, both visual, musicians, magicians, anybody that, puts things out there, I think will be on board once these solutions become more easy to implement. And
I'll piggyback on what Keil's saying. There are projects actively working on this ticketing problem. The one that comes to mind it's Guts, I believe, or Guts.tickets. I'm not sure if that's an acronym, but their whole goal is promoter or musician to peer ticketing without the Ticketmaster model. And it's all on blockchain with a mobile app. I mean, most of the time we go to a show anyway, at least in pre-COVID, you just show a QR code anyway. So
that system's already been put in place to an extent.
And I think some of these blockchain solutions could put, the ticket masters out of business, at least if we start at a grassroots sort of level of attacking the small venues first and making that more commonplace. Maybe they'll lose their foothold in contracts with the larger venues eventually. More value in doing that peer to musician model. That being said, the venue could build in a rake for themselves that cuts out the Ticketmaster pricing, for example. It could be more lucrative for both the venue and the musician and the consumer. We're getting to a point where these middlemen across all industries are becoming obsolete. As we can find ways to programmatically get the middlemen out of the system. So
I just signed up for the decentralized Spotify type service Audius, AUDIUS. I was going to put up some, I've self-released some stuff a few years back, and I was going to put that up there and just see what happens with it. But I really like the idea of a decentralized Spotify where the industry doesn't really get a cut of anything. It just goes straight to artists.
That sounds like something I need to research, because that's what I'm trying to build towards.
I looked at it maybe like 2 or 3 months ago and didn't really recognize any of the artists on it, but I just looked at it today and there's big artists releasing stuff exclusively on there now. It's kind of crazy.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, it seems like the future. It really does.
It's so crazy to think that even on such a micro, if we're thinking, because we were saying Keil, you're saying that maybe we still are a good chunk of time away from those larger shows and things like that being able to happen, where we are not undercutting, but eliminating things like a Ticketmaster and things like that. But on a really small level, even right now, you could do an NFT where it is essentially like that Patreon where those owners have exclusive access to. And like, let's imagine right now we did a performance of like Dreamloops just for the owners of that NFT. So you can make this as big or as small as you want as an artist, which is what's so cool. Like, even for me, I'm like, is there a way to do a virtual magic NFT somehow where you learn how to do a trick and only the people who buy it get to learn the trick or something like that? I don't know. Like, there's space as big or small for whoever kind of wants in right now, which is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the world is your NFT, right? No, the oyster is dead. Because we're still buying hard paper flipping tickets, and just killing the world around us. Like, how are we not completely just scanning at the door right now? Why has it taken a pandemic to start highlighting and pushing for certain realms of technology? I just, again, that word fascinating and fascination, it just keeps coming back. It's very, very intriguing. Is there anything that I'm missing then? We've been talking for 48 glorious minutes. What am I missing here that you were hoping I might ask that maybe I didn't? I mean, how would you like to summarize this project and what's next?
Well, no, I think we've touched most bases. Yeah, it's just a project we're excited about. Releasing some music / digital album art on the blockchain with a physical media component that is vinyl and cassette. I'm just summarizing the project here, but hoping to launch by the end of April. That's our lofty goal right now. Just tricky when you've got 10,000 or something, but I think we're gonna make it. Stay tuned. We'd like to talk to you again about it, and we're hoping to get more artists on board. Maybe we can have conversations with them as well.
Exactly. Because Keil and I have got to do a whole other conversation about his music, let alone, that's what I love about this, is the offshoots and the different directions you can then go in from the connection. And Jason, I know that I didn't throw back to you too often during this. Is there anything that you feel maybe we didn't quite get in there as well that you'd like to highlight?
Nah, I'm just so excited to be a part of this project because these two guys are across the board like people who I look up to being as, like, whether it be artists and intellects in the space and all that kind of thing. It's just really cool to be the young guy in this project because I'm just learning a ton every day. You know what I mean? Like, it's been, and I'm not even just saying that to, like, get that sweet bonus at the end of this project or anything, but it's just like I've been genuinely, like, really enjoying the process. And it's challenged me because in my own brand, I have a really hard time pulling the trigger with anything because I'm just that kind of person. But I find what's really cool just with the deadlines that we have of 10,000 to be out by the end of next month is like, you have to do it. Like, now is the time to do it. So there's no time to not pull the trigger. It's just constantly firing. So I find it, like, that process and that energy and that pressure really, fun. And the fact that it's my first time branching into an industry that I've been interested in and have done it. Like, I've been collecting things for years. My desk is filled with slabbed hockey cards right now. So it's like, I think that being a hobby and being a hobbyist of the space and now branching into it with a project is just so exciting. So I've just been enjoying the conversation like you have, John. So,
well, with that then, why is there such a rush? Because from me, when, like I was saying, setting this up earlier, I've read in different major blogs, etc., of insert band here that are doing the new album, including with tickets. Is this a case of rushing? Well, no, rushing, that seems a rude word to use. No one's rushing anything here. This is your project and your baby, and it will grow as it's ready to be shared. But the goal is to have it rolled out by the end of April. Is there a reason why you wish it to be so soon, or could you, the three of you, take longer on it, or because I don't know anything dilly squat about it, it is going to be on time to go, so so let's go?
Well, I think we've given ourselves a deadline just because sometimes that helps to call something finished. I feel like if I don't give myself a deadline, I'll just keep making new stuff and never stop. So I think we just kind of gave ourselves a deadline so that we would stop and call it finished eventually. I've been working on it for a while. So yeah, it's good to have that deadline for me at least so that I don't just keep revising it forever.
So originally it was going to be a 1,000 piece, but you just kept going and then said, "Screw it, let's just go 10,000."
Yeah, as I've been making stuff and experimenting with the like programmatic randomization, and it's just it's grown in scope a little bit, and I think I'm very close to being done with most of the content. So it's all the timing's working out really well. I don't feel like we're rushing. I feel like we gave ourselves a deadline, and I think it's good where it is.
Have you kept early versions of what you've done, or do you find that you improve and then you go, let's not use these? Because what I like about and why I ask this is that people that have been kind enough to follow me on my adventures so far, they've seen probably 30 different types of website as I've learned how to code in the last 6 months alone. And what excites me about that is for the OGs, whatever you'd like to call it, they get to see that evolution. Have you kept some of the original ones that you're like, oh Jesus, I've made way better now, but I'll still put these in this package, or have you just shifted completely from those?
No, I've definitely kept elements, like
Awesome.
early elements. As it's evolved, I've kind of like trimmed things that didn't really fit with where it's gone. But I feel like I've been working on it long enough to where everything I've got now is cohesive, and some of it's older, some of it's newer. But I definitely, I mean, in all projects, I usually keep at least some old stuff and kind of revise it to bring it in line with what I'm doing currently. I try not to throw most things away unless they're just terrible and unsalvageable.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's fair enough.
If you're ever lucky to see some of Keil's old pixel art, he's got quite the backlog of not just pixel art, but it's pretty incredible to see some of the stuff that he's not presently using that's in his repertoire that's still.
I'm always making dumb stuff.
I love it.
If you've got 10,000 that you're putting out there, that means you've probably got over 300,000 that you've made just for this project.
Yeah, well, I made 17,000 and I've trimmed it down to 10. So
oh my God.
That's where we're at.
Ridiculous.
Keil has
ridiculous in a very cool way.
August.
Yeah, you've not left that room for a while. Thanks for putting on that shirt.
Yeah, thanks. I know. This is my
got the button up for the John interview. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been putting on button ups just to feel like I'm not in quarantine.
Oh, it's fascinating.
John, something that's really exciting too is I remember you saying earlier on that you're excited, if you purchase some, that you can see the different rarities, and it's been really cool having the people on the Discord come through, and they're now starting to notice different rarities. They're kind of going, what does a gold symbol mean? And then you kind of realize like, oh, that's a rare one, oh, that's a vinyl one, and they can kind of piece that puzzle together for themselves. But what's really interesting too is that since each NFT there's like an unwrapping process, the same way that you would open a pack of Pokemon cards and you don't know what's in them, that some people can actually keep or they should, they will, I don't know, are going to keep them sealed and not know what's in it. And then you can either hold on to that for a long time, almost like people are holding on to booster boxes of Pokemon from the 90s, right? Or you can sell it sealed. So there's that kind of that unknown surprise factor of it still, regardless if you open it right away. You kind of also have that choice if you want to open it, which has been really, people are stoked about that too.
I keep trying to wrap this up, but then you keep dropping these nuggets in there. That's really cool, because for me now, I'm like, yeah, I'll buy a couple. Now I'm thinking I better buy 10 because I want to try and find the one with the vinyl, try and find the one that's a version 1, a version 3, a version 5, a version 10, or step 1, 2, 3, 4, etc.
Exactly.
So, okay, well, yeah, very, very interested. And I have just so many more questions, but I think what I should do is just step back, join the Discord, just get more and more involved in the website, and try and hopefully be one of the early purchases of this project. I'm going to throw it on my credit card. That's just how we mostly exist right now.
We're doing some giveaways as well, so that we're going to be giving out a fair amount of free ones as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's make a sort of virtual
There's one
door
going
I
on
can
right
knock
now,
on.
isn't it? When does it end, Gabe?
We've got one giveaway going right now until Wednesday through our Twitter. So it's.
Oh well, then if I get this up flipping
Wednesday,
YouTube
the
tomorrow. That gives
31st.
anyone that watches this a few days if they hit it before that point. Yeah, till the end of the month.
And we'll be doing some more. We're giving away a reasonable amount, like something like 5% of the total supply is just going to be gifted to people, just to start to establish a base. And some people are new to NFTs and Ethereum, and this might be a cool way to get them initially involved as well.
Especially with the price point of each one once they also go on launch being so low that this isn't if you're buying one, it's not $1,000 buy-in right away like a lot of these projects are. This is a great, take your V card NFT in a way,
Well, it just seems that then you can. I was thinking of my question and didn't quite let that comment sit. Thank you for that, Jason. But flipping it, man, come on. But no, it's all fun. But yeah, because I guess that then I'm thinking business-wise, then Keil, that balances out. If you know that you've got a certain amount of records, you can maybe afford to bring down the price of the overall NFT individually, because you know that if you were to get through all of those 10,000, it would settle. So you're not stepping backward; you are still stepping forward as an artist. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Good to clarify. Okay, sweet. Well, thank you all so much.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
What should we call the YouTube title? Is there anything just to make sure it matches with anything you're doing? Do I say Crazy NFT Guys 2021? It won't be that. It won't be that.
Bitlectro Labs.
Yeah, what would you like it to be?
Yeah, Bitlectro Labs, that's the company, and then Dreamloops is the project name.
So just chatting with Bitlectro Labs and figuring out Dreamloops.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Spot on. Museums in our pocket. That's what it is.
I like that.
Museums in our pocket, okay. We'll make sure that's hashtag Jason underneath. And then we'll pull the quote of what you said a few moments ago about anyone that's looking to make their first NFT purchase.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Well, a real thrill, and I'm really thankful for the fact that you've been very patient with walking me through what this all means, because again, transparency is key, and I got no bloody idea what most of this world is, but I've got a hell of a lot more of an impression of it now than the last hour of conversation, so I appreciate that, gentlemen.
Thanks a lot, John.
It is appreciated, and that was a fun conversation for us.
Awesome. All right, have a great rest of your day. Speak to you all soon.
Bye, gentlemen.
Bye.